Dear students, let us start with another topic, that is the comparative account of the integument in different classes of chordates. Till now we have studied the main structure of the typical structure of a skin, in which we have taken the mammalian skin, and then we have studied different derivatives of the skin. And now let us discuss the comparative account, how the skin is different, the integument is different in different classes of the chordates. Although the main fundamental structure in all the chordates is similar, in all the vertebrate is also similar, but there is a variation in different class. Variation with respect to presence or absence of dermal bones. So sometime they may be present, in some classes they may be absent. Then there will be a variation in the relative abundance of glands in aquatic forms. Glands, they are present in almost all the organisms, all the classes of the chordates, but the aquatic classes, the aquatic forms have more glands as compared to the terrestrial one. Then you have the specialized or spallation of stratum corneum or surface layer of epidermis in terrestrial form. So in the terrestrial form as compared to the aquatic form, the stratum corneum layer of epidermis is highly specialized in forming different structures, as we have already studied in various derivatives that most of the derivatives were from the stratum corneum. So these are the various differences that you may observe, the major striking differences. There are some smaller differences also, though the structure is same in almost all the animals, that is above there will be epidermis, below there will be a dermis, but the difference lies over here in the thickness of the skin also, then in the presence or absence of dermal bones, then abundance of glands, more in aquatic form, less in terrestrial form, and then the stratum corneum is having specialized structures in the terrestrial forms. Let us start from the aquatic forms. Let us look at the lower chordates, which are called the protochordates also. I am taking over the example of the Amphioxus. We are having a vertical section of the skin. Let us see what is the difference. There are two layers, dermis and epidermis. So this is dermis, above this is epidermis. The dermis is gel like, it is not when the liquid starts solidifying, then it becomes gel. So here the dermis is gelatinous. It has a thick layer below the epidermis called the cutis. This cutis is formed by the layer of collagen fibers and the elastin fibers. When you look at the epidermis, it is formed of a single layer of the cells. So you can now compare it with the typical structure of the skin that you have studied, where the epidermis was multilayered. In this epidermis, the cells are column shaped, they are ciliated, you can find cilia at their outer end, and in between these columnar cells you may find some epidermal unicellular glands. So gland formed by the single cell, they secrete cuticle covering over the body of these protochordates. Now let us look at the cyclostomata, the round mouthed fishes, you can say, because these are the fishes which are having the round mouth, so called cyclostomata. So I am having a skin of larva of the cyclostome, where you can see again cutis is there. So we have seen that cutis is formed by the layer of collagen fibers and the elastin fibers. Cutis is there, this is what is represented by the dermis, and the epidermis is multilayered, you have so many cells. Then In the epidermis, you may see some club-shaped gland cells. These gland cells, they secrete scab, a surfactant that lubricate the surface of the animal. It has a very narrow passage called canaliculi, and then in the layer you may find some unicellular gland cells that secrete mucus. Now the cells at the outer edge, at the outer surface, are again ciliated cell, you can see over there. Below this dermis you may find some melanocytes pigment cells just below the cutis layer of the dermis. So melanocyte, you know, they are the pigment cells that produces colors to the skin. Let us look at the cartilaginous fishes, the dog fishes. So here I am representing the vertical section of a dogfish embryo. Now where you can see that here this is the dermis, up to this is the dermis, and then you are having the epidermis. In the dermis you can see below there is a layer of compact cells, compact material is arranged in a very compact manner, close fitted together, called the compact layer. Then you have the cells loosely arranged, so called the loose layer. In the compact layer you have the pigment or the color producing cells called melanocytes. Then from this dermal region you can see that the dermal scales are coming out. You might have seen in the previous lectures where we have studied the scales, that the fishes, they have the dermal scales. Now because I am representing here the embryo, so in embryo epidermis is still present over there, though in the adult it will be sloughed off and the dermal scale will be exposed. In the epidermis you can see the unicellular epidermal glands are present over there, which secrete the mucus, and it is multi-layered epidermis. And if you look at the dermal scale, you have a in the cartilaginous fishes, you remember that it is always a placoid scale. This placoid scale is having this type of structure, and above it are present enamel like vitrodentine. As in your teeth, the outermost covering is formed by the enamel like, the enamel protein, you can say very hard protein. Here again they are very hard protein called the enamel like. Now why I am and then from the dermis the dermal scale is rising, and the nutrition supply to the dermal scale is with the help of the dermal papilla. Why we are showing you the embryo, not the adult? Because in the adult you may not find the epidermis in the fishes. Then the bony fishes, teleost, you can see again this is a skin of a teleost fish. Now here it is the you can see it is the adult fish, where you may find that the epidermis is very reduced in form, present just above the dermal scales. So below this is the dermis. The dermis is attached below with the muscles of the body wall, and then you have the subcutis layer. So because above this is the cutis and then the subcutis layer is there. The cutis layer have the fibrous connective tissues, as we have already shown you, the elastin fibers and the collagen fibers. And then from the dermis you can see the dermal scales are coming out. These one are the dermal scales. In the teleost they may be cycloid type, they may be ctenoid type. Here the epidermis is almost removed from the upper surface. Very restricted epidermis is present over there in a very few layers of the cell, where they are having the mucous glands, also unicellular mucous gland for the production of mucus. And then from the dermal layer you can see that the pigment cells, they are coming and they are producing the coloration to the skin. So epidermis is very much reduced over there. Now look at the lungs fishes, the Dipnoi, you can say, and here again this is the dermis, above this is the epidermis. Now you see this epidermis is not having stratum corneum like membrane. the layers of the cells which we have studied earlier, because most of the modifications of the derivatives of the skin were from the stratum corneum. Here it is not present. The epidermis is having unicellular glands, mucous glands, and there are some multicellular glands also. These multicellular glands are either the poison gland producing the poison, or they are the photophores producing the colors or the light, not color but the light to the fishes. So you might have observed in previous lectures also, where we have discussed that there are some fishes which can produce colors, and they are called luminescent also. So photophores are present over there, and below this you can see the dermis is having the cutis like appearance, where the collagen and elastin fibers are compactly arranged over there. So this is the skin of the one of the lungfish called the Protopterus, because they belong to the class Dipnoi, so you can call it the skin of the Dipnoi. Let us look at the class Amphibia. In the class Amphibia you can see this is the dermis, above this is the epidermis. Now if you look at the epidermis, the upper layer, it is having a basement layer called the stratum malpighi. This single layer are present just at the connection of the dermis and the epidermis, and then you have the above multi-layered epidermis. Now here there is a thin stratum corneum present over there. You know that the stratum corneum are basically the dead and the keratinized cells. There are some glands, the mucous glands, multicellular mucous glands formed by the epidermis. They go deep into the dermis, so they hang down below the level of this stratum malpighi into the dermis. They are supported well from the sides and the below with the help of the vertical fibers, because the fibers in the skin, they are basically some sort of skeleton that provides protection and the support to the rest of the organs. And then you can see the blood supply are there, the blood vessels are there, then the horizontal fibers are also there, these are the vertical fibers. So again the chromatophores are present over there in the dermis just below the malpighian layer. Let's have the look at the Amphibia, class Amphibia. We are representing here the skin of the Ichthyophis, one of the Amphibia. Now you find that this is the dermis. Again the dermis is having the keratin, the collagen fiber and the elastin fibers shown over here as a long thread. And then you look at the epidermis. Epidermis is multicellular. You can see the malpighian layer is clearly visible over there. Then the multicellular mucous glands are present over there also. Then you can see that the flat and the dead keratinized cells of the stratum corneum are again present over there. So here again these there are some giant epidermal glands are also. They are called giant because they are bigger in size, whereas these mucous glands are smaller in size. Now dermal bony scales you can see over there present in the dermis. So this is the dermal bony scales present below the epidermis, embedded in the dermis. They are not exposed at the outside. Then look at the reptiles. In the reptiles you can see this is the dermis. So the dermis has the two layer. The loose connective tissues are present on the upper side, and then you are having the fibrous connective tissues below it, and then the tella subjunctiva there, which remain attached with the muscle layer of the body at the underside. And then you may find that these loose connective tissues at some pockets have some dermal papilla. These dermal papilla are basically the nutritive supplies to the overlying scales. So here you can see the epidermis. In the epidermis you may find that it is a multi-layer. You are having the stratum malpighian layer over there, then you are having the thick stratum corneum present over there, and the exoskeleton in the form of horny epidermal scale is present over there. So you can see that basically these dermal papilla, they are the nutritive supply to the developing epidermal scales. Then if you look at the birds The birds also have the skin divided into two parts, dermis and the epidermis. Now in the epidermis you can see again the stratum malpighian layer is there, and then the stratum corneum is also present over there. Now from the epidermis, the feathers, which are the characteristic feature of the birds, they are arising out. This is the calamus part of the feather which remain embedded in the skin, you can see over there. And then again if you look just below this epidermis, that at the base of each feather you may find dermal papilla providing nutritive supply to the developing feathers. Then the dermis is having some vascular spongy layer. Vascular means having rich supply of the blood over there, and then there are fat deposition, it is again in the dermis layer. Then there is a compact layer of the collagen fiber and the elastin fiber, and you can see that if the feather is fully developed, you will have such type of structure, or if it has just started developing, then you can see it as a feather germ, that it is going to develop into a feather. Then mammal, I will not discuss it again because we have studied this structure while studying the typical structure of the skin. So mammal have a very thick epidermis and a comparatively thin epidermis, and the epidermis is again having the layer of the stratum germinatum, stratum granulosum, stratum lucidum and the stratum corneum, and then the hair from the epidermis layer you can see over there, hair follicles are there. In the dermis you can see that there are blood vessels are present there, nerve vessels are present there, yellow fibers are there, white fibers are there, and other structures are there. We shall not discuss it again because already we have discussed that. Anyhow, comparatively you can see over there that the thickest skin is present in the mammals, having thickest dermis and the epidermis as compared to the other classes of the chordates. Let us look at some comparative account about various keeping in view the various characteristic feature. Like, let us look at what is the difference in the skin surface between one class of the vertebrate and then the attachment of the skin with the underlying muscle wall. In the fishes you can see skin is hard, it is very rough, rigid, leathery and firmly attached to the body. You may not be able to easily detach this skin from the fishes. In the amphibians, skin is thin, it is moist, it is slimy, it is smooth and fitting loosely to the underlying muscle. It is having a lymph spaces beneath the dermis. So in the reptile, skin is thicker, it is dry, it is rough and loosely folded along neck and abdomen, where you can see that the skin flaps are present over there because they are much loose. Skin is much loose at the neck and the abdomen. So fold you may observe over there. In the bird, skin is very thin, dry, hard, flexible enough, very loosely attached to the. It is so because the loose attachment of the skin provides the maximum freedom for the movement during the flight. So then you can see the mammals. Mammals have the thickest skin, the dry skin, elastic skin and loosely attached and variously modified in one mammal and the other mammal. Like you can see somewhere you are having the hair, somewhere you are having the fur, so on and so forth. So have the different modifications over there. As far as the coloration is concerned, fishes show greatest color pattern. So greatest color pattern you can that means you may see that the fishes are the one fish and the other fish, one type of fish and other type of fish are clearly differentiated from one another because of the having good coloration pattern. Body color does not change in them, whereas in amphibian have generally dull color of the skin, but they can change the color of the skin. The reptiles color pattern is very elaborate, you can see the snakes, they are having different coloration pattern, and they use this color pattern for warning to the predator, and then this color pattern is also used by them for concealment, that they conceal themselves, they hide themselves from the eyes of the predator, and because they can change the color, they can camouflage. In the birds, they are beautifully colored, but skin is not colored because these are the feathers which have the pigments. So anyhow, they are beautifully colored because the feathers are again derivatives of the skin, so you can say their skin is also very having different pigments and the colors, but they cannot change their color. In mammals, they are generally dull colored as compared to the birds and the fishes, but they don't have capacity to change the color of the body. Then you look at the pigments, the fishes. In the fishes, pigments containing chromatophores and guanine containing iridophores are located in dermis. So in fishes, the pigments are the color producing cells, they are present in the dermis. In amphibians, chromatophores are again present in dermis. In reptile, again in dermis. In birds, they are again in pigment cells found in feathers, not in dermis, and the feathers, they are the derivatives of the epidermis. And then in the mammals, pigment granules located in hair, and the epidermis, pigment cells in dermis are also present. So here in mammal, all the three may show the presence of the pigments. Then as far as the respiration through skin, which is called cutaneous respiration, is concerned, in fishes, skin is protective in nature and is impermeable to water, don't let the water to cross through it, hence no cutaneous respiration can take place. Whereas in the amphibian, skin is protective and is permeable to water, so it serves as a organ of respiration. No skin respiration or the cutaneous respiration is present in reptiles, birds and mammals. Then if you look at the epidermis, the fishes have the many layered, stratified and simple thin cornified stratum corneum, and the skin of the fish don't molt. Amphibian have many layered stratified stratum corneum layer of the epidermis, and which continuously shed in patches. In reptiles, the epidermis is multi-layered, having very stratified stratum corneum, and it again show the molting or the shedding of the skin in patches or in whole piece. In birds, it is many layered, having stratified thinner and singly shed stratum corneum. So it has comparatively thinner stratum corneum, and it also shed in various seasons, so it show molting. Whereas in mammals, it is highly stratified, stratum corneum is highly specialized, but it cannot shed, it don't show the don't show the molting. Then if you look at the epidermal glands, the fishes epidermis contain numerous unicellular mucous glands, glopped glands, and the multicellular poison gland also, the luminescent gland producing the light also, and the photophores are which are also called the photophores are present in the fishes. Whereas in the amphibians, epidermis is rich in multicellular mucous gland. Some amphibians have the poison gland also, like parotid gland of the toad. So you have the two types only, either the mucous gland or the poison gland. But here you are having the unicellular mucous gland, multicellular mucous gland, the poison gland, the luminescent gland. So three types of glands were there. In the reptiles, no mucous glands are there. So that's why whenever you touch the reptile, you will not find any slippery type of skin over there. The male lizards have femoral gland, and some reptiles have scent glands or musk glands. So these are the types of glands that are present in them. So I have already told you that the glands, they are more in the aquatic forms. In the birds, no skin gland occur in birds except a single large preen or uropygial gland On the tail, no mucous gland. In the mammal, skin richly glandular, containing characteristics mammary glands, sweat gland, sebaceous gland, scent gland, but mucous gland are absent over there. So it is very highly specialized and modified in case of the mammals. Then coming to the dermis, in the fishes, dermis is typical with connective tissues, fibers, blood and lymph vessels, pigment cells. So all these are present in the dermis layer, but all connective tissue fibers run parallel to the surface, so forming the cutis. In case of the amphibians, dermis is thin and typical. It consists of an outer loose layer of stratum spongiosum and inner layer of compact collagen fibers called stratum compactum. So have the two layers, the outer is loose and the other is compact. The connective tissues fibers are vertical as well as horizontal. So here they were parallel to the surface. In the reptile, dermis is thick and typical, containing connective tissue fibers, muscles and nerve and the blood capillaries and lymphatic vessels and also the pigment cells. In case of the birds, the dermis is thin, made up of muscles fibers, the nerve fibers, the blood capillaries and the other connective tissues. It has no pigment in the dermis. In the mammals, dermis is proportionately thickest of all the vertebrates. So I have already discussed, containing intricate fibers. So it has fibers in all the directions, in the horizontal direction, in the vertical direction, in a crisscross direction. So they form an intricate manner. They have the tactile organs are also present in the dermis, which feel the sense of touch. The nerves are present over there, blood vessels are present over there, and the pigment cells producing color to the skin are also present in the dermis. As far as the dermal scales are concerned, fishes have the dermal scales. Amphibians, dermal scales are absent in frog, although embedded in the skin of some Gymnophiona. So in Gymnophiona you have the embedded dermal scales. In the reptile, dermal scales are absent. In Uromastyx, but dermal scales secretes or plates called osteoderm occur in some lizards, crocodiles and turtles. Birds, dermal scales are absent. In the mammals, dermal scales or the plates occur only in the armadillos and the whales. Thanks. This is all about the comparative account of the skin in various classes of the chordate. So